Is Yahya around? You have? Okay, fine.
Dr. Chito, please start the meeting.
Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Aminu Shitu from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Usman Ofode University, Sokoto. I'm one of the team members of the AfriScience network. I would like to, due to my busy schedule at this moment, I'm in the lab with students. I would like to invite Dr. Ismail Odetokun to start the meeting with the reading of citation of the speaker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have the pleasure of reading the citation of our guest lecturer for today, in person of Professor Rotimi Aluko. Dr. Rotimi Aluko is a professor and Tier 1 Canadian Research Chair, Bioactive Peptides, in the Department of Food and Human Nutritional Sciences, University of Manitoba, Winnipeg, Canada, where he also serves as a director of the Richardson Center for Food Technology and Research. He graduated with a BSc Biochemistry from the University of Lagos in 1982, an MSc Biochemistry from ABU Zaria in 1985. From 1986 to 1991, he worked as an assistant research fellow in the Food Science and Technology Program, Department of Plant Science, ABU Zaria. In 1991, he started his PhD Food Science program at the University of Guelph, Ontario, Canada, and graduated in 1996. From 1996 to 1998, he worked as a postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Food Science, University of Guelph. He joined Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, Saskatoon Research Center in 1998, where he worked as a research scientist, food protein utilization for 3 years. In 2001, he moved to the University of Manitoba as an assistant professor, was promoted associate professor in 2006, and became a full professor in 2010. He has 25 years of research experience as an independent investigator with a focus on the structure, function, properties of food, proteins, and peptides. His research grant record as a principal investigator exceeds $12 million. In addition to 295 peer-reviewed journal article publications, he holds 2 patents on bioactive peptides, one of which was licensed to a Canadian nutraceutical company for the purpose of commercialization. He has produced over 100 trainees in all categories, including undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral researchers. The American Chemical Society has featured novel scientific discoveries from his lab twice in 2009 and 2018 as global press releases, including the discovery of novel antihypertensive peptides and beta taste blocking peptides, respectively. Dr. Aluko has been recognized in multiple years, including 2022 by Clarivate Analytics as a highly cited researcher, top 0.1% of world scientists, with citation record in the top 1% globally. His Scopus record shows about 16,700 citations, Google Scholar about 22,800, with H index of 73 and on Google Scholar 83. Dr. Aluko has served as a grant review committee member and grant application assessor, including student scholarships for several countries, such as Australia, Canada, Ireland, India, New Zealand, Israel, European Union, Italy, Catalonia, Chile, France, Netherlands, Poland, Norway, South Africa, and the USA. In 2022, he received the American Oil Chemists Society AOCS Lifetime Achievement Award for outstanding research work in proteins and co-products. He has received the University of Manitoba Merit Award for outstanding achievement in research and service in 6 different years. He has been inducted as a fellow of several food science and nutrition professional organizations, including the Canadian Institute for Food Science and Technology, Institute of Food Technologies, AOCS, International Society for Nutraceuticals and Functional Foods, and the International Academy of Food Science and Technology. He currently serves as editor-in-chief of the Journal of Food Biochemistry and associate editor of current topics in nutraceutical research. I hereby present our lecturer for today, Professor Rotimi Aluko. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, very nice introduction. I think I probably need to be made a co-host to share, or can I share my slides?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, just give me a minute here. I have an old system here, so can you see my slide?
Yes, very
Yes.
Okay.
clearly, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Very clear you now.
We can see.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and
Yes,
clear.
we can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to make this presentation. And I want to thank especially Dr. Aminu Shidu, who has really, worked very hard to make sure that the AfriScience network continues to be very, very successful, especially in not only providing information to all scientists, but also in ensuring that we have a network that can actually benefit everyone. I have, really learned a lot, believe it or not, from being a member of the network. So I'm really very, very appreciative of the proponents of this network. So thanks to everyone. So anyway, my presentation, will be as follows. Please note that, what I'm going to talk about is simply my own opinion, my own ideas, because as you can appreciate, there's really no, there's no instruction manual for this type of topic. So what I'm going to say comes mainly from my own experience, not only as a researcher for the past 25 years, but also as as editor, for almost 15 years now for various journals. So please know that these are my own personal opinion. But again, you are very free to ask questions at the end of the session to clarify any issues that may not be very clear. So basically, this has been covered already in my citation, so I'm not going to really go through it. I just put it there in case people ask for the slides, so they might not have access to the citation, so they can see my background in terms of my background education there, and also in terms of my career. Again, this has been covered in the citation, so I'm not really going to put much emphasis on that. In terms of work experience, I'm just giving this background so that people can know where I'm coming from, and to emphasize the fact that I'm a life science researcher. So what I'm going to talk about may apply mostly to the life sciences. So if it doesn't apply to other areas like the physical sciences or the social sciences, my apologies. But again, this is just, coming from my own experience as a life science researcher. So again, it's been stated in terms of my work focuses mostly on food proteins and peptides. So you can see the information there. All of these have been mentioned in the citation. But what I want to mention, very, very important, which I'm going to talk about later on, is the need for international research collaborations. And you will see, in my, later in my presentation, the emphasis on these in terms of allowing you not only to expand the scope of your research, but at the same time expand your citation. Because when you publish with other people, you do things, you do research that you may never have done without that collaboration. And some of them come out, believe it or not, to be really, highly cited articles simply because of the collaboration, the synergy between two, three people, two, three laboratories. You come up with articles that are really very, very interesting to the scientific community. So again, I will stress that later on, but I do have lots of international collaborations. And like I said, like my citation said, I've been editor-in-chief of Journal of Football Chemistry since 2016, where I've been able to increase the impact factor from 1 when I took over to 4 in 2022. And again, this has to do with my efforts to ensure that we have increased citation for the articles published in this journal. And of course, unfortunately, I'm going to be leaving Journal of Food Chemistry at the end of this month. So I'll be moving to Journal of Functional Foods to serve as the co-editor-in-chief in 2 weeks' time, effective May 1st. Okay, so let's get back. Let's get into the real meat of the presentation itself. So, how do you enhance this citation record for your research work or your publications? Now, of course, the most important part, which we should all note, is number 1, which is that what you publish matters a lot. Okay, what do we mean by that? It means that what you publish will either attract readers, okay, or does not attract readers. All right. And if it attracts readers, okay, you have 2 categories of readers. Those that will read your article and just say, that's just another, similar type. I've seen this before, no need, I move on to the next one. All right. So, and then you have the second category of who will read they will simply read the abstract and they will become really very interested in the article such that they actually read the whole article. And eventually, okay, it can serve as a source of reference for them, okay? And so you are basically attracting citation, okay, depending on what you publish, all right? And what do we mean by that? There are 2 types of publications in general. And again, notice that I say here, in general, okay? So this is not, it doesn't mean this applies to everybody. But in general, we have 2 types of publications or articles. We have the usual horizontal, what we call horizontal contribution, which is basically you are providing the same information as in previous articles, all right? But simply you are using a different sample, or you have simply tweaked the approach, all right? You have simply used a different approach, but ultimately the contribution to scientific knowledge is not great. It's simply, it's still the same thing, there's no, it's like, okay, you drank pap today, and then tomorrow you drank custard. I mean, it's still this, still the same, type of food, right? So this type of articles, okay, it could attract maybe a little attention, okay, but because of the lack of, really a very strong scientific content in terms of information, it is very likely that you're going to have only very few citations over a short period of time, because people, they have other choices when they want to cite papers. All right, they'll look at your paper, it doesn't really give, it didn't build on what I have known before. So I'm simply going to cite the old papers and not your paper. All right, so that's what we call horizontal contribution in terms of articles. But then you have what is really very desirable, which is what we call the vertical contribution. Okay, a vertical contribution is where you actually provide new information that builds on previous articles. All right. Now, notice the word there, builds on previous articles. So it doesn't mean it has to be entirely a new type of article, but you have looked at the previous articles and you have come up with really a new information that adds to scientific knowledge, all right, that people can use, that people can read and say, yeah, you know what, this is really something very useful. Okay, I can cite this to support my work in the future, or I can use it as an argument, okay, to justify why I'm using this approach, why I'm doing this work. So such work basically serves as a very strong reference, okay, for various researchers, okay, to use. And this is the type of work that will likely attract much attention and be used as a source of information by your peers, okay? And therefore, you are very likely to have multiple citations over several years, okay, simply because you have provided a new information, all right, that enables people, okay, to use that information in their research work, all right? So that is why horizontal information, nothing wrong with it, okay? It's still good science, but then in terms of attracting citation, it is not likely to attract as much citation as when you do what we call vertical contribution, where you generate new information. All right, and I'm going to give examples of this type, or what I mean by this type of desirable publication using my own work. All right. Again, it's not really to publicize my work, so my apologies if you feel that's the case. But I'm simply using my work because my work is what I know mostly. So I'm going to use my work just to illustrate, what I mean by really very, very desirable vertical contribution. So early in my career, we, like I said, we look at peptides. I have a research program on peptides. And so I had a postdoc then, and we had a meeting and we looked at literature because I wanted him to do something. I told him we need to do something that is new, something that really will attract researchers to our papers. Because, I told him, look, you need to get a faculty position. If you don't publish good papers, you cannot be a postdoc forever. So we decided, okay, we looked at literature. I said, okay, why don't you look at literature, see what is missing, what is not there, And then we came back to a meeting. I said, you know what, something that is actually very missing is that there's very few information, or even not detailed. There's no detailed information in terms of how the arrangement of amino acids on a peptide, okay, dictates its function in terms of inhibition of angiotensin 1 converting enzyme, which of course is a major target, is a major pharmacological target, okay, to treat hypertension and even other types of, cardiovascular diseases. I say, yeah, that's true. We don't know, really, how do we arrange these peptides? I mean, these amino acids. And so we came up with this idea, and then we went to the lab, we, purchased the new software to do the, statistical analysis, and then we, did everything. And then we published these two papers, and the first one, which was on the left, which is in Journal of Agricultural Chemistry, we actually hit a road bump because it was very new at that time, and the reviewers rejected it. They say, no, this is rubbish. What does this? Because so I had to write a detailed note to the editor and say, no, hold on here. This is what we did. I know it is new. Okay, this is the justification what we did and how we did it. But eventually, the editor overruled the reviewers, and so the paper was published. But my point here also is the fact that when you are publishing new information, it is very likely you are going to encounter resistance from the scientific community in terms of reviewers, Okay, but hang in there. Don't be discouraged by bad reviews. All right, as long as you are confident in what you are doing, okay, you just justify it to the editor, and make sure it's published. But overall, now these are two papers, and then we did additional one looking at antioxidant peptides. These three papers now have, I think, close to 2,000 citations. Just these three papers on Google. All right. So again, just example of providing really very very new information. And the other one actually has to do with reviews, which I will talk about later on, is the fact that one of the ways of also providing new information to scientists is to write review articles, all right? But when you're writing review articles, don't just write review articles that basically states exactly what is there or really what other people have already talked about. Okay, write a review article that fills the gap, okay, in information. All right, so there's a gap. All right, you do some preliminary work and identify, oh, you know what, there is no place where scientists can go to find a collective information, all right, on this topic. All right, so find a gap in scientific literature and then collect articles and write a review to fill that gap. All right, because reviews are very very useful to researchers, because reviews, unlike research articles, reviews cover many areas that are useful to many people, and that is why they attract more citation. All right, and I just gave this example because this was an article we wrote with my colleagues in India. I had gone to their university, Central University of Haryana, in India in December of 2017 to teach a course, a 2-week course on functional food sponsored by the Indian government. And then when I came back later on, they suggested we, start writing articles together. And so they sent me a draft. They actually sent me like, a draft of this review. And so when I looked at it, the initial draft to me was not interesting. All right. Because I checked literature and some of these already has been reported. So we eventually came to an agreement in terms of what is missing. Okay, what do scientists need to know about anti-nutritional factors, all right, in foods, all right? And we eventually agreed on the outline, and we wrote this as, we got it published in 2020, again, after almost 3 rounds of review, because again, the reviewers were not really very, for some reason, the reviewers were not really very happy about it. I don't know why, but that just tells you the peer review process. But after 3 rounds of review, we actually got it published in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. And guess what? In just 3.5 years, believe it or not, this review has over 600 citations, all right, on Google. Okay, it's about 400, I think, on Scopus. But again, this just shows you the power of review articles, all right, if you write a good one, all right? And so we're able to identify this gap that, for the past 15, 20 years, there's nothing on this title, okay, in our area. We put it together, wrote it, and it has really, really skyrocketed. So again, place review articles, okay, but again, make sure you choose an area that okay, needs to be filled in terms of a scientific gap. All right, so that's number one in terms of what you publish. Okay, so the first one, of course, like I mentioned, is in terms of vertical information. The second point I want to make in terms of what you publish is to develop a new line of research, okay, or an area that has little coverage in scientific literature, all right? Because this introduces what we call freshness into your work and very likely to be picked up by other scientists, all right? Okay, so this means that you look, okay, what has been published in the past 5-10 years, okay, and then okay, what is missing? It seems something around, something here has not really been done, all right? So I'm going to fill that gap with my own research. So it can be very challenging. All right. So don't make that mistake. It can be very challenging to do this. But if you're able to do this, when you publish your article, it is very, very fresh because it introduces a new area, okay, into the scientific matter. All right. And people, for a long time, people are going to refer to it because it serves more like a foundation, okay, to that area of research. All right. And so it could be that you develop new analytical methods, for example. So it's not just doing a research work. Why not develop a new analytical method? Maybe there's an old one that is not working very well. All right. Develop a new one that really works very well. All right. You will see that people will start, using it, they will start citing it because it is very useful. Okay. So what I just give this example again to illustrate choosing a new area of work. All right. Now, when I started my career here at the University of Manitoba, the hemp industry, and again, when I say hemp, please, it's not marijuana. The Canadian government approved food grade hemp about 25 years ago, okay, for cultivation for food consumption. All right, so these are varieties that have very low THC, so it cannot make you high. All right, it's actually bred for food, okay, for food purposes. But it was when I came to Manitoba as a newly hired assistant professor that I saw that this industry just started. And I looked at literature, materials, and there was almost very little information about this product. And my thinking with them was that, what, in 20 years' time, this hemp might really become very big. All right. And scientists will need information in terms of the proteins of this hemp product. So we started this work, on hemp seed proteins, I believe very early, and they will publish some articles, all right. And again, this has, if you look at literature now, people who work on hemp seed, it's very rare for you to see an article on hemp seed protein without citation of at least one or two of my papers. And that is because those papers, my papers serve like a foundation, all right? Because then I introduce these hemp seed proteins, okay, most of it to the scientific community, all right? And so it becomes very, very useful. For example, these two papers have been really, really highly cited because these were the early papers we published, all right, on hemp protein. So again, that's in terms of developing a new area of work, okay, which can allow you to really become an authority in that area, and your work becomes, a foundation that scientists can cite, all right, to justify future work. Okay, so also apart from developing a new area, in terms of what you publish, my third point here is, does the work contain mechanistic approach or simply routine analysis? All right. Now, this is because information on how or why something works is quite attractive to scientists. We all know that, isn't it? You want to know, why does something work? All right. Okay, it's like a car. If I press my pedal, why does it stop? Why does it move? Or I want to know, how stuff works. All right. So one of the areas that really, really attract citations is when you publish articles that contain mechanism. All right. How does it work? Why does this thing work? All right. Okay. For example, if you do, say, for example, an animal experiment or a human feeding experiment, and you give them, a product. Okay. And again, my apologies to people who are not in the life sciences because I'm using all these examples from my area, and I really apologize. But if you do an animal experiment or a human intervention experiment, and you give them a product and say, oh, I want to see what has this product, okay, or how does this product affect blood lipids, cholesterol, low density lipoproteins. Okay, and when you do the work, you simply took the blood of the rat or the person, and you simply measured, cholesterol level, LDL level, triglyceride level. Yeah, it's a good work, no doubt about it, but it lacks a mechanistic component. All right, people are very curious to know, why did the cholesterol go down? Why did the HDL go up? All right, that is what really interests scientists. Okay, in terms of using your work as a cited paper. All right. In contrast, if you do the same work, all right, and you measure the lipid, not only the lipids, but you actually looked at enzymes that are associated with the lipid metabolism. You correlate the increase in certain enzyme with the decrease in cholesterol level, all right, that becomes very interesting, because you are telling me this might be the basis why the cholesterol level in the blood reduced. All right. And that is because, like I said here, the mechanism becomes a tool for scientists to plan future experiments or explain data. Hence, your work becomes a reference article. All right. Because, by providing a mechanism, okay, people can then actually work on that mechanism, okay, and see, okay, whether if I tweak, okay, my product, will it actually affect this mechanism the same way that Dr. Aluko's work reported? All right. And to do that, they're going to cite your paper first and said, okay, yeah, we are doing this because Dr. Aluko reported that XYZ enzyme, all right, led, to, the decrease in this and that. So it is very, very important to ensure that your work contains a mechanistic component, all right? Because again, that makes it interesting, okay? In fact, many people use such work to write textbooks, all right? And also to teach, all right? Because it tells students this is why, okay, this happens, all right? Because of the mechanism you reported. And again, I'm just going to give an example from my work, which has also become really highly cited. For example, again, when we were working with a hemp product, we actually did some animal experiments to find out, okay, whether this hemp peptides we got can actually reduce blood pressure. All right, and so what we did, apart from just looking at whether the blood pressure reduced, is why. Okay, are there changes in the enzymes in the blood? All right, are there changes in other parameters? Okay, of oxidative stress, for example, that would tell us, okay, why this happened. All right. And again, that really became, again, one of our best, cited papers. I mean, some of our best cited papers, because people keep referring to it in terms of this is why this happened. Okay, so we are going to do this next. All right. So it becomes really a very good reference paper. All right. So again, doing something, okay, that really, provide a mechanistic explanation, okay, can be really, really very, very useful. All right. So the next one, apart from what you publish, okay, and again, this is what I mentioned earlier on in terms of multidisciplinary research collaborations, okay, both at the national level and at the international level. This is one of the key. If you look at many people who are highly cited in the world, most of the majority of them, okay, have publications, several publications from outside their research program, okay, where they have collaborated with various researchers. And I'm always very, very intrigued when I see articles that contain multidisciplinary research, because you can be very sure if it is done very well, you are going to see the demonstration of various skills, okay, within that paper. All right, the contribution of various researchers, okay, come together. You have this synergistic interaction that really produces excellent papers. All right, that really makes it very interesting to the scientific community. All right, so when you do this, it broadens your publication record. Because again, remember, these are articles that you normally never have published without this collaboration. So it's actually, and I'll give an example later on for my own case. And you can see the impact, of this type of collaborations on publication record. It really, really broadens your publication record. For example, I'm a food chemist, all right, but my area has always been proteins and peptides. But then I believe it was about 10 years ago, I had, somebody, one of the top researchers in Thailand approached me, but his work was on fish, believe it or not, all right, on fish. I had never worked on fish before then, all right? But he told me that, look, we can apply, okay, what I do to his work, all right? And I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And this guy now, I believe we have published over 10 papers together, okay? So this broadened my publication from simply a plant protein guide, all right, to now publishing articles in fish, but still related to peptides and proteins. All right, so that's my point. It's not for you to publish something that has no relationship with what you're doing. No. Okay, broaden your knowledge to areas that ensure that your publication is still within your expertise. All right. Okay. And apart from that, it empowers you with new knowledge in areas where you may never have worked, all right? Because you learn from your collaborators in terms of how to do their work or how they do their work, okay, their own approach to scientific experiments, all right? Even how they write papers, okay, you learn, okay, from your collaborators, all right? It has the potential to attract new scientists as additional collaborators. Because when people see your papers, what they're going to look at, you believe it or not, many people, when they look at articles, apart from looking at the title, the next thing they look at is the address of the authors. Many people don't know this. Okay, they look at the address of the authors. What they're looking for is they want to see, is this a collaborative work? All right? And so when they see many of these repetitions in your article publications that, this guy collaborates a lot, the next thing they want to do is to collaborate with you, okay? Because they say, oh, you know what? This guy is turning out good articles with other people. I want to collaborate with him, all right? And so that has really a very good potential to enable you attract, okay, other scientists, okay, to your collaboration. And again, that can really seriously expand your publication record. And along with that is your citation, okay? So I just give some examples here, just to illustrate what I'm saying. For example, when I came here, I got contacted by Federal University of Tech Akure and Obafemi University with regards to student training, to help them train their students using. By then we had a Canadian government training program. Unfortunately, it was cancelled eventually. But also, they also use the TED Fund. I'm sure all of you are familiar with TED Fund. And, through that now, I believe 6 or 7, people from food science in FUTA, 6 or 7 of their faculty members, did their PhD in my lab through this opportunity, as well as OAU and Ileife. But what is important for you to note is that this collaboration has led to about 32, if not more, journal articles that we have published together. All right, that is a lot. These are articles that I will never have published without this collaboration. Remember, this I was approached. This is really not in my research program originally. That is a bonus. That's a big, big bonus. All right, in terms of not only the number of your articles, but also the citation. You can see over 2,500 citations that would have not been part of my record, all right, if not for this collaboration, all right? Same thing with Thailand. I give an example of Thailand. Over 21 articles, okay, with various researchers in Thailand, over more than 2,000 citations. Okay, of course, China, the same thing. I have students from China, have collaborators from China, several citations. All right, India, the same thing. These are all collaborations. All right, and so if you add up these citations, all right, so these you are looking at close to 6, about 5,500 citations. And some of them, actually, I couldn't count all of them, but I'm very sure they are close to 6 or 7 citations. Okay. Actually, if I add the others, for example, from Ireland, South Africa, Denmark, USA, UK, Bangladesh, Benin Republic, Australia, papers are published with scientists in all of these countries with several citations. Okay, so if you add up all these citations, okay, it's close to about, I would say close to 10,000 citations. Believe it or not, close to 10,000 citations. These are citations that would never have been in my record but for the collaboration. All right. So that's my point, that expanding your research collaboration is very, very important to being highly cited, because you bring in new ideas from other people, ideas that you didn't even think about. All right. But that eventually become really very interesting to the scientific community, that your papers become really highly cited. All right. So again, international collaboration is something that I really, really hope that as scientists, okay, that we can continue, okay, to do very, very well. And I really, really encourage you to engage in it. Okay, you can start at the, you can start at the national level. Like, apart from the international collaborations, I also have collaborators from various Canadian universities, all right, where we also have published papers together. Probably, papers again that have really attracted several citations. All right, and so you can start, at the national level. Don't just think you have to start looking for, international. Why don't you even start with the next department that is close to you? You are in maybe mechanical engineering. Why not go to civil engineering? Okay, you are in biology. Why not find a research collaborator in chemistry? Start at the national level, or even at the local level. All right, and then you can gradually, when you publish your papers, believe it or not, when people see that you are a collaborator, all right, okay, you are more likely to be approached by international research and say, you know what, let's engage in this. Can we do this together? All right. So again, it doesn't have to start at international level. It could even start just from your university, okay, by engaging other people. And if you look at the advantage, okay, you can publish, you can get citations that normally you would never have received, okay, if not for the collaboration. So the advantage is tremendous. All right. Okay. And so the last tip, which hopefully I'm not taking too much time, but the last tip is something I've already mentioned earlier in terms of review articles. Review articles, again, I'm not going to overemphasize this, okay? Review articles are very, very important because they bring a lot, to the table, okay? They contain an assembly of information that is very useful to different people in different areas of your work. That is the advantage, okay? Research articles may be may be interesting to a very narrow people who work in your area, but review articles attract many scientists. Okay, so if you do it very well, it can be very, very beneficial. All right. So I know it's a lot of work. Yeah, if you do it very well, because first of all, like you said, please, before you write a review article, okay, tell your students, all right, or whoever is your collaborator, to first of all look at what has been published in the past 5 years in your area. Okay, identify articles, okay, that have been published that you can bring together, okay, and then form a good topic. All right, don't just decide in your head, oh, I'm going to write about this. Okay, it might not, it might work, but if you do it in a scientific way by investigating what is the gap that I need to fill, where does information package, okay, where is it needed, okay, that we can put a package together, okay, that the biologists can use, the chemists can use, physicists can use. All right, that is what is necessary. So I know it's a lot of work, okay, but as you all know already, a well-written review article, okay, attracts multiple citations, okay. So be very strategic, okay, by addressing hot topics or areas that are likely to remain relevant for several years, okay. One of the areas that is very hot, which many people have not taken advantage, is AI, artificial intelligence. All right. Okay. How can we harness the power of artificial intelligence, all right, to do our work, all right? A review article, okay, in that area that tells us, okay, these are the potentials, okay, these are the areas that have been used, these are the results, okay, these are the potential power, all right? I would tell you that such articles, okay, such a review article will be very powerful, okay, if people can do that, all right? We don't have it. We don't have it yet, all right? But it's an emerging hot topic area, okay, that if you can take advantage, all right, and do the work, like I say, it's heavy lifting. I know it's a lot of work, all right? But if you can do the if you can do the heavy lifting, all right, the reward in terms of citation can be very, 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 very good, okay? So it's very important when you're writing review articles, please don't do it alone. Okay, work as a team. All right, if possible, work as an international research team. All right, and I've seen some really, and I'm not mentioning this to advertise, but you know, it's just very good work. I've seen some really very excellent work by the group at Sokoto, Dr. Aminu Shitu, and others, in their epidemiological articles, involving several researchers. All right. I'm not saying you should go to that extent, but work as a team. Okay, review articles, okay, come out very well when you work as a team because it allows you to harness the brain, okay, of individuals, different areas, all right, to write a very good articles. And it reduces the burden on you. You don't just write alone with your student or or just you alone. Okay, if possible, involve a team. One of the things you can also do, all right, that I have done in the past myself, is to use materials from graduate student coursework submissions. All right, so I don't know if, how you run your coursework, but most of our coursework here, actually in my university here, requires students to write papers. Okay, and so why not work with your student after they have submitted the paper? Why not work with them, find out the area, if it is very interesting, turn it into review articles. Okay, I've been turning into review articles, all right? Or even the literature review section of the thesis. Okay, as you know, your graduate student thesis contains a literature review section, all right? If it is well written, all right, why not ask the student to write it as a review article? Why not? All right, that is a bonus because really the student has done a lot of work already, all right, by putting together this literature review section, all right. So really, as long as you have your input, you have given the student your input, all right, it makes it very fine, refine it. But why just waste it as a thesis? Why not, convert it into a review article? This is what some of us have done successfully in the past, and many people have done successfully in the past. All right, that again you can do to facilitate your ability to write review articles. So I'll just conclude by indicating this what I've been in terms of I use this as an example, okay, of international collaboration again. All right, and this is a review article that we wrote, about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And Dr. Adedeji, I happen to have just met him at the conference. And we chatted up as usual because he's a Nigerian like me. And he did his PhD in McGill in Canada here. But now he teaches at, at the University of Kentucky in the US. So we had met at the conference and we chatted up, and we said, okay, why don't we work together? I mean, we are both, even though he's a food engineer and I'm a food chemist, all right. But we said, we could still do something together. So luckily, he had this Nigerian student also, Felix. Felix did his PhD with Bode, and so, again we met. He said, okay, he said, I'll send you something. So he sent me an idea. I said, this is part of my students' PhD thesis, like I said, and we want to really, have this as a review. We need your input. So I gave them my input, made suggestions in terms of how to expand it because I felt the original, scope was very narrow. So I gave my input, we expanded the review. And again, we wrote it, submitted it, got it published in 2021. And, again, it became so successful, that we're actually very surprised, And, last week, just exactly a week ago, we actually got a notice, okay, from the journal, okay, from Institute of Food Technology, that paper won this Turner Award for the highest citation to a 2021 paper published, in that journal with 180 citations. That's 180 citations really as of last year. But basically, that's for Scopus. When you look at Google, the citation is over 290. All right. So again, I gave this example as an example of writing a good review article from a PhD work. This is from the PhD thesis of Felix, all right? And also the importance of international collaboration, all right? It is possible that Dr. Adedeji could have just written this with his student, all right? But, we don't know, we wouldn't know. Okay, will it have attracted as much interest, all right, as having, expanded the authorship to somebody outside his lab, all right? So again, that's the question, all right? Because again, it contains my own input in terms of how the review can be made very strong. All right. So again, I give this example to encourage you, one, not only to use your student thesis materials to write review articles, but like I said, work as a team. It's always good to invite people from outside because they provide a fresh idea. They provide fresh ideas, a fresh angle. All right. And so, I really encourage you, to do that. And like I said, review articles are really very, very, they're really a very, very good way, to increase your citation record. When I look at my own record, for example, I believe I would say about 20 or 15% of my citations have come from review articles. Okay, so again, these are citations that would never have come if I didn't engage in writing these review articles. So please, this is one of the key areas that also you can use to enhance your citation. So that is basically my presentation. But I want to end this presentation on a very funny note, and just as a form of encouragement. I'm not sure that you can read this very well. This is supposed to be a letter written to Albert Einstein. I'm sure you know who is Albert Einstein, all right? Telling him that actually, he was not successful, at his doctorate program, all right? Because I'm going to read it just in case you cannot read it. He said, why you post an interesting theory in your article published in Physics, we feel that your conclusion about the nature of light and the fundamental connection between space and time are somewhat radical. So that's number one, somewhat radical. But look at this. Look at this concluding sentence. Overall, we find your assumption to be more artistic than actual physics. So you can imagine how they rubbished, his theory or his proponent. But eventually, that same theory, okay, won the Nobel Prize, isn't it? That is the fundamental basis. All right. And again, I got this from the internet. I'm not sure that it's a true letter, but I think it's true. All right. But I just put it to illustrate at the end of my talk that please don't be discouraged when you get rejected, okay, when you are publishing papers. I know it can be very, very devastating sometimes, especially when you are putting so much work to an article and then to a manuscript and it gets rejected. Please don't be discouraged, okay? Rewrite it. Actually use the comments of the reviewers, okay, to make it better, all right, and submit somewhere else. There are many journals, many good journals these days, all right. So please don't be discouraged in writing manuscripts. Okay, it is the foundation for we as academicians, okay, to make progress in life. So if you don't write manuscripts, I mean, you're not going to make progress. So please don't be discouraged. You know, when your manuscript get rejected, remember this, and also remember, I'm not sure whether you know this, there have been several Nobel Prize winners whom nature or science rejected their manuscript, okay, for lack of innovative ideas, but the work eventually, okay, won Nobel Prize. Okay, look at the 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 most recent case of the mRNA technology. All right. The mRNA technology was made fun of. All right. In fact, the researcher eventually lost her job at the University of Pennsylvania. All right, isn't it? Okay, because it was not appreciated. It was, what is this? You know, it can never work. It doesn't make sense. Her attempt to publish the mRNA work in Nature failed. Okay, but look at the effect now. You know, mRNA technology is basically now being used, okay, to see whether they can actually develop, various therapeutic, products against several diseases. So again, please don't be discouraged, with failures, when you're publishing. All right, it is just part of our lives as academicians. So on that note, thank you so much, and I think we have a lot of time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the wonderful lecture. I guess Dr. Shitu is still busy in the lab. So we don't know, are there persons with contributions or questions to ask Professor Aluko before we go for today? Anybody interested in asking a question can signify by raising his or her hand. Some persons ask if we can share your slides at the end of the day.
Oh yes, definitely. Please do that. Like I said, that's why actually I put some of the information that's already in citation. So yes, please. I will send the slide to Dr. Shitu, and
Okay.
then he can share it with people who are interested in having it. And also, I will put my email address there on the slide. If you want to contact me for additional information, please feel free to do so by email.
Okay, great. Thank you. Abdullah Adeyemi Adeguke, can you unmute yourself and ask a question, please?
Yeah, good evening, Prof. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I really enjoy the way you've presented your talk, sir. Yeah, I'm a PhD student from University of Ibadan, Nigeria here. I'm peptides from rhinorrhea plants using managing metabolic disorders such as obesity and diabetes. Yeah, I think with the first slide you showed us, sir, concerning the peptide, I think I have a related work with your paper, the first paper you shown us, sir. And this is my question. I don't know if there is any, because you mentioned something like collaboration, sir. So I don't know if there is a way I can also get collaboration, because I think I have a similar research interest with your own, sir. And also, please, sir, I will need a kind of help concern, because I'm trying to apply for some scholarship, and the I can say the hindrances there was getting a supervisor. I try to apply for DAD currently. I'm looking for a way to get host, as well as Fulbright scholarship currently going, and that one is particular to US. I don't know how you can link me up, sir. That is my little question, sir. Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay, yeah. I think your first question was in terms of collaboration, right? If I'm right, about the peptide work, all right? Okay, so in terms of collaboration, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. If you look at my work and you think that it could be useful to your work, and you need collaboration with me, all you need to do is just contact me. I mean, this, like I said, this has happened, over several, with several other researchers over the world. Usually the good thing with the article is that my email address should be there. You can go to our website. Yeah, if you really think that we can collaborate, I can help you develop like your experiments or analyze your data. Yes, please, contact me. We could help you do that. I'm very, very open to collaboration, like you have seen. I collaborate with many, many scientists over the world, so I'm very glad to do that. In terms of hosting, the key thing, of course, is always, just like everything in life, is money, right? you know, Unfortunately, our funding is very limited, and right now, if I tell you the number of my lab that I'm paying, you'll be surprised. You wonder how I got the money. But unfortunately, here the regulations here are very different from Nigeria. Here, when you take a student, you have to pay them. You have to pay them. They are your responsibility. Okay, they cannot get to a point and say that I cannot pay my rent. You'll be in trouble. so, and so we must make sure that we have sufficient amount of money before we take any additional students. So, and that is why right now I'm not taking new students, simply because, I'm paying like, 8, 9 people in my lab, including the postdoc. I mean, I have 2 postdocs. So that really is financially very heavy on me. Until the current students graduate, maybe by next year, then that might free up some money. So that is why really I'm not taking new students. And I apologize if anybody has contacted me and I didn't get a response. It's just because on a daily, to be very honest, on a daily basis, I get several emails from several, not only from Nigeria, India, China, Iran, and it's just not humanly possible to reply everybody. And so my apologies for that. But in terms of, if you want, contact the US, for the fellowship there, I can definitely get you a contact. One of the researchers that I know there that I'm very close to can actually, he does peptide work, and so might be able to actually, host you for the, what do you call it, I forgot now, the fellowship you're talking about in the US. So you can contact me. I can link you up with that professor, and you just tell him that I will actually send him a note ahead that you need a spot, and he might be able to accept you. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, Prof. That is one of the essence of we setting up the AfriScience network, so that young scientists can really learn and move up the ladder. There is a question from the chat box. The person asked, let me see. I'm coming. Okay. The person asks that, can you explain how you use the literature of PhD student thesis to publish review papers?
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. Again, first of all, you have to remember that the literature review of a thesis is a review, isn't it? It's a review, all right? It doesn't really contain, any data from your student's experiment, all right? You are basically, reviewing previously published work in the area of your student, or your student's work. And the purpose is to use that literature review to justify why your student is doing their work. So what it means is that the literature review section of the thesis contains materials, all right, that report what other people have done, isn't it? So that's a review. That's why it's called literature review. And so basically what you need to do is, that's why I say it can be a lot of work, all right? But what you need to do is simply identify a target journal, all right? That is, this is a journal I want to submit the manuscript to. Look at their scope, make sure that it fits within the scope, and then look at the author's instructions in terms of how to prepare your manuscript, all right? And then you simply follow the guideline on how to prepare your manuscript. And then now you can ask your student to format the literature review, okay, into a manuscript that fits, okay, the author's instructions for that journal. It's actually part of, training your student to, be very good at writing, So it is doable. It's been done several times, yeah, so the main heavy lifting has been done by your student by writing literature review for their thesis. So the next thing is just to adapt the literature review component, all right? It doesn't have to be, remember, it's a manuscript, so it doesn't have to be as big as the literature review. So what you will need to do is take out key components of the student's literature review, okay, to see which ones, okay, really will, when you put them together, will make sense as a continuous, okay, type of, article, all right? Remember, literature review can be very big. You cannot publish everything as a manuscript, no, okay, because journals, you have a limitation, right? So what you will need to do is, you as the supervisor, okay, or if you have a collaborator, you can send it to your collaborator, all right? And then you can say, okay, which part of this literature review can we put together to give us a review manuscript? I think it can be done. It's been done very, very regularly. So it's just, you have to make that decision, and I think it's a very, very nice approach, to not only training your student, but also ensuring that the productivity from the thesis increases by one, apart from publishing the original research papers. Then the student has the benefit of additional paper, and of course, if it's written very well, it has the additional benefit of attracting more citations. Okay, so yeah, so go for it.
Great. Thank you, Prof. Someone asked a quick question that what is the impact of publishing in subscription-based journals as compared to open access outlets? What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, first of all, open access, to me, is the best, platform to publish your papers, um, because of the reason that, of course, is available to everybody. All right, anybody can download it and read it and use it. Okay, but you have to realize that open access comes with a fee. It's not free. Nothing is free in life. All right, it comes with a fee, and depending on the journal, the fee can be very, very high, especially for developing countries. All right, except you have a grant that you have built the publication charges into the grant, then that is easier. Otherwise, it can be very, very expensive for scientists in developing countries to publish in some open access journals. Okay, actually the good ones. Okay, avoid those that really nobody reads. If you publish in good ones, you should have, impact factor, recognize impact factors. You have to pay. All right, but the advantage is that everybody has access to read, and it's not proven, okay, but it is more likely to attract more citations, all right, in that everybody has access to it, all right, and so there's a possibility that somebody will always cite it because they have access to it. That's the advantage. for subscription-based journals, okay, remember, even though you need subscription, okay, what it means simply is that it's either your university is paying for it, all right, or okay, of course, you have to pay for the article separately. Okay, subscription journals, they're not that bad, all right. It's just that the access is not as wide as for open access, because for subscription journals, what it means is that either you provide the article yourself when people ask for it, or their institutions have access to that article. So the circulation might be a little bit limited for the subscription-based journals. So that's the only deficit, but I don't think it has any significant impact on citation. Trust me, because the reason is very simple. When people are looking for articles to cite, what they first do is to search literature, right? Okay, and so when such interesting articles come up, if they don't have access to it, they can contact you directly and ask for the article, or they can get it from somewhere, like from, if you're on a ResearchGate, for example. So I think it's not that bad, but like I said, my preference will be for open access. Okay, but again, the question is, can you afford to pay the fees? But in terms of impact on your citation record, I don't think it has much difference in terms of the impact.
Thank you very much, Prof. I don't know if we can entertain one or two questions before we leave.
Oh, yes.
Anybody with any other question, please? And if there is none, I will want to call on Dr. Shitu, if he is back, or Professor Shueton, to give us the vote of thanks and closing remarks before we leave for the day. Thank you. Professor Shueton. All right. I think both of them are not available. So, Prof, sincerely, we want to appreciate you for your contribution to the growth of science and knowledge in Africa, particularly in Nigeria. And we appreciate your contributions so far. This is the second time we'll be having you on our talk on AfriScience, and this is the 11th in a row. So we really appreciate your concern to share the knowledge that you have with us. We appreciate a lot. Thank you very much. And we also appreciate all our members, especially those who have joined the discourse today. We appreciate you all. Next, we'll be coming up next month with another round of lectures, and we hope that you all will join us in the forthcoming program. Thank you very much, and we appreciate you all. Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the invitation, and I appreciate all of you for attending the presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free at the end to contact me, and I will send the file to Dr. Shitu for anybody who's interested in having it. Thank you so much, everyone, and best of luck in your research activities, and I will wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.